Faust sent me this replay featuring a proper Hellblaster volley gun, so of course I've got to cast it. He's going to be in a land battle up against the foul hordes of the Warriors of Chaos. Nice to see, though, we've got Archaon, who, although he is quite strong, is sadly a bit of a meme pick in comparison to some of the other ludicrously powerful options that the Warriors of Chaos have access to, although controversial opinion might be this, but I actually think Archaon's probably better than Be'lakor here, to be honest. Empire has really good tools for killing Be'lakor. Anyway, let's take a look at the tools the Empire have brought here. Got Boris the Todd up in the air, and a staunch line of spears and halberds, spearmen of shields, with shields, of course, getting cheaper in a recent patch, alongside halberds, halberdiers who are quite effective, cost-effective, that is. We've got Free Company Militia here, including the Sterling's Revenge. Their armor-piercing damage should be quite important here. We've also got some Empire Knights defending the back line, and a Wizard of Death, Amethyst Wizard, Rock and Spirit Leech, Doom of Darkness and Fated Buna. Very fun stuff. For the Warriors of Chaos side here, Archaon leading the way, some Chariots coming up and around the side, Marauders up front, and then hidden in the woods here, there was a Vanguard force of Hellstriders and Poison Warhounds that came through, sort of realized the Empire's defensive position, and then pulled back. Archaon dodging some shots. We've got one elite Skullcrusher of Khorne, alongside some more Hellstriders and Hounds over on the far side, looking very cool in the beautiful green jungles of Lustria. And then some more Chaos Warriors coming up here slowly through the open ground as well. So let's take a look. Empire's taken a really nice defensive position here. I think this is just crispy positioning from Faust. He's got his kind of flank anchored here, not necessarily on like a huge impassable terrain piece, or it would count as white line camping, but because of the way the approach is set up here, he can kind of use this cliff and this little ruin here to his advantage. The Skullcrushers charging through on the low ground there as the Hellblasters blast through in the center. Some Marauders are going to try and get on the Hellblaster as a Burning Head rips through the center of the Empire line. Marauders do get held back somewhat by the Empire Knights, so the Hellblaster should continue firing there momentarily. But yeah, man, those Skullcrushers come in and absolutely crush some skulls, just completely eliminate one unit of Free Company Militia. Unfortunately for them, it was not, in fact, the Sterling's Revenge, so, you know, high-value targets still abound, but Archaon here, with the support of those Skullcrushers, does manage to do a massive amount of damage to Boris, who's now forced to pull back. That being said, the Skullcrushers did kind of dive into the center of a bunch of halberds, and as they try and even pull out of this engagement, they do get largely bogged down in a lot of state troop halberds and spearmen, which is not going to be super efficient for them. Quite a few of their unit models will get dragged down into the mud with the PFI of the Empire here. But maybe not, actually. Maybe, like, all their unit models will escape still alive. That's fine. Meanwhile, Archaon messing in the front line here, getting his Chariots in support. Critically, though, the Sterling's Revenge are sort of in the castle, if you will. They're sort of at the strongest point of this defense, along with the Hellblaster. Critical mistake potentially here for the Warriors of Chaos, not healing these Hounds and getting, like, a full surround here. Potentially then forcing the Hellstriders, or allowing the Hellstriders to engage the Empire Knights, or perhaps get a rear charge on these Halberdiers, but just a little bit of over-blobbing in this forest is going to lead to this pocket now being super juicy for Boris to come in and just get a massive rout, terrify away the Hounds, smash the Hellstriders, low HP and armor, and not allow them to charge up their, what's that, Soul Scent passive, I believe it is? Anyway. Soul Hunters, that's what it is. Something about souls. It's Slanesh. Anyway, also a little bit of overkill on this Overcast Searing Doom here, try and take out regular Free Company Militia. Again, a little bit of mis-targeting of priority. Definitely would want to pop that on the Sterlings, try and take out the higher value and the armor-piercing missiles. But Chaos is starting to envelop. I mean, they've eaten up a lot of the units on the low ground here. Question is, can they get set for another advance? You can see how Faust kind of reforming his defense here, sort of section off the part that was lost, doing a great job playing active defense. There's a lot of players who criticize a defensive playstyle. I think there's nothing inherently wrong with it as long as you're active and you're not playing passively and purely reacting to your opponent. Like, still need to be, you know, constantly repositioning, readjusting, reprioritizing, making sure you keep those key units safe, getting units, you know, back in position. And here, yeah, the Hounds do eventually just pull back, which is ultimately probably the right call. But the thing you'd want to do here is get the 3 of them and then try and find one isolated pocket and go like 3v1 for a quick attack. As soon as other forces move to respond, then you fall back, and in that way try and maybe pick this formation apart. Yeah, Skull Crushers moving in with Archaon once again at their side. Empire Knights are going to make a doomed defense and try and hold them in place, while Halberds sandwich from the other side. Yeah, the Halberds, I think, I'm not really sure. Looks like they're moving into position. I'm not sure if they actually have an attack order there necessarily, but even just positioning-wise, blocking the escape of those Skull Crushers, quite nice. Meanwhile, the Hellblasters have been firing this whole time, blasting away into whatever targets they can get their hands on. Fate of Yuna going to be unleashed here on this final unit of Chaos Warriors. There wasn't many other high-value targets, although Fate of Yuna would have been a great use on these Skull Crushers. Would have been greatly used on these Skull Crushers, I should say. I can English today, I promise. But even with their relatively, you know, lower model count, I believe, and we'll look at this, I believe the damage scaling would still work out okay, but regardless, Skull Crushers still just get dragged down by, you know, infinite numbers of human halberds. It's definitely one way to do it. Still managed to get home and hunt down that Hellblaster crew, but the Sterling's Avenge are staying tight, staying safe. Meanwhile, if we check in with Boris, he, I believe, just creamed that chariot. Yeah, crapped all over it. And now is coming back to help support here. A nice thing about Boris, he's got great buffs and debuffs, great support lord along with mobile terror, and the fact that he has self-healing. Those things sort of working in tandem. Mobility and the healing in particular that allows him to do this was just to avoid, you know, unfavorable fights. Even after having taken a lot of damage, you can still recover him, get him to use him to great effect. Speaking of great effect, Sterling's Avenge here with their armor-piercing pistols paying off against literal Lord of the End Times here. Searing Doom can't stop them. They'll fire in advance, even as it rains down behind them. And not going to be a great situation for Archaon. Boris even bravely charging in. Probably going to eat a couple of little friendly fire shots there, but not long for the world for Archaon. Yeah, he's going to be headed home to the wastes very soon. And as it should be, staunch defense of the Empire holding out for some reason in Lustria against the Lord of the End Times. Let's not question that part too much, but what could the Chaos player have done better here? Again, I think just utilizing their mobile troops a little bit better. Even here we see these Poison Warhounds now sitting idly. And like, I understand being a little bit hesitant to commit them, but definitely just mass harassing these halberds. Another thing too is in terms of magic usage, like the Burning Heads and this Searing Dooms are fairly decent. I definitely agree with taking these two spells here, but with Archaon, you can obviously pair him with a Nurgle Sorcerer hero who can then heal him, and I would say it's pretty advisable to do so. In general, Archaon's magic is okay. You know what? Scratch that. I forgot the Nurgle Sorcerer is actually only a lord, not a hero. I guess there is a way you can heal Archaon with the War Shrine. A little bit janky, but I have to say I can't really criticize his magic selection too much in this particular replay, because he did end up getting a crazy amount of value. I mean, obviously, Archaon can carry you in land battles, so you will need him to often if you take him. But yeah, the Skull Crusher's so close to glory. Definitely got a lot of damage, a lot of kills, a lot of value, but not quite enough for what you pay for them. That's gonna kind of be the tail of the tape for a lot of these Chaos units. Some of them just get straight up crumped in the face, which, you know, seeing Hellstriders badly underperform, I'm sure is going to make quite a few of you happy. They're not nearly as oppressive in land battles, especially against a faction like the Empire that has pretty good tools for dealing with them. But in general, I would say, no offense to the Warriors of Chaos player, but I do think they misuse their mobile units a little bit. Rather than sort of YOLO charging in and kind of attacking needlessly in blobs in the flanks, maybe try and use the chariot to run some initial disruption attacks, and then have your other mobile units as a follow-up to then swarm the resulting disruption, try and find openings and gaps, and again, prioritize that free company who, man, those Sterling's Revenge specifically, I should say, They're the ones who got the value, while the rest of the free company kind of sacrificed themselves to do so. Nice to see there. Let's finish up, though, Marauders. I mean, they're Marauders. What do you expect? On the Empire side, Boris, mostly running support role, doesn't actually get that much value himself, but tanks quite a bit of damage. The Hellblaster gets quite a bit of value, which is nice to see. It managed to stay online for most of the battle. Had some reasonably high value targets to shoot at there. Empire Knights also a valiant defense, running to wherever they needed to be. 117 kills, 800 value. Love to see that. Empire Halberdiers, some of them mostly just played defense and didn't do a ton, but quite a few of them got some decent value, especially, again, fighting those high-value, large armored targets that the Warriors brought here. And then the Free Company, as mentioned, sacrificed themselves nobly for the Sterling's Avenge, and some Spearmen did good. So there you go. Very interesting one. Big thanks to Faust for sending that one in. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that. Let's go ahead and just finish up, talk a little bit about Warriors of Chaos magic selection here. So if we go into Skirmish versus the AI, so Archaon, relatively expensive. The cheapest spells you can bring with him, wins magic and cost-wise, are Spirit Leech and Searing Doom. Burning Head is also here, and it's pretty decent, but definitely just spamming Searing Doom is going to be pretty decent. I mean, there we saw some inefficient usage where Faust was able to dodge, or maybe it was overcast when it didn't need to be, which is definitely a risk of bringing Searing Doom, so perhaps Spirit Leech is another option that you can bring as well. Get some maximum procs of Kindle Flame. Slayer of Kings, not super necessary. If you have the funds, it's nice to have, but certainly not something that I would prioritize taking, especially against a faction where their mobile kind of threats can just run away like Boris did there and live to fight another day. But on the topic of healing, so if we think about Warriors of Chaos, right, they do have access to the War Shrine, and the War Shrine, of course, can take any of its marks. Mark of Nurgle for the War Shrine does add an area of effect healed. Only 0.1% heals per second, which is not a ton, and that's even after it's fully charged up, but it is something. That being said, you are tying yourself to a relatively expensive, at 1,300 points, slow meat bag. I mean, it does have 12,000 HP in the Nurgle Shrine in particular, but it is a big target, slow moving, and against a faction like the Empire, it's going to be quite vulnerable to missiles. So I'm not sure that this is necessarily the most advisable thing to do here. Technically, you could also, if you want to move away from Archaon, you could take the Lord of Nurgle, the Sorcerer Lord here, if we pop him in. Regular Sorcerer Lord, and then give him Nurgle. Of course, you can take the Steed. You could take the War Shrine. Again, that's going to make him super vulnerable on the Steed. Likewise, though, he's going to be quite vulnerable to somebody like Boris. You could give him this Corroded Armor, perhaps, with the Filth Mace is okay. This also gives him passive self-healing as well, which can be quite nice. Can sort of give him some extra ability to tank and provide support. But then Lord of Nurgle here, for supporting an elite unit like the Skull Crushers, you know, Kindle Flame is nice, don't get me wrong, but of course you've also got something like Miasma of Pestilence, reduce the melee attack of whatever they're fighting to give them more effective melee defense, and then just straight up healing, of course, like Fleshy Abundance. I don't know how well this would actually work. I haven't tried this. I've tried the Nurgle Sorcerer with like double Shaggoths a long time ago, and it was fun. It worked okay in land battles, but I haven't tried it with like elite Cornate Cavalry. So let me know down in the comments below if any of you guys have tried this, or maybe with like the Tzeentch Knights or whatever. I don't know. Tried healing some of the other God-marked elite units on the Warriors roster, since that's something that you can do. Let me know down in the comments below. Hopefully you enjoyed this. If you'd like this sort of content, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification. Every time I upload a new video, you'll be notified. Thanks again. We'll see you next time.